It's the top 50 players right now. We have reached the top 20. Rupper and Boiler alongside. Thrilled to have you with us. When we get to this stage of the countdown, fellas, the best of the best, the elite.
It is. It's tough to really say this guy should be high or low. I mean, you're talking about a lot of great players. I mean, these are the best players in the world, but it's fun to just look back at what they did this past year and where they are on the list, because it's something impressive.
And it's not necessarily their whole body of work. That's why we do this
Right
show
now.
every
Right now.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
it's
point.
exciting.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. At number 20, a name that American hockey fans know and treasure, Matthew Tkachuk. If you can miss the games he missed, like after Four Nations, he did not play another regular season game. And then in the playoffs, after the cup was done, we heard he played with an adductor muscle that had been torn. And sports hernia surgery, that was another issue. This guy, mentally tough, physically tough, and oh, by the way, when you talk culture, reaching the Stanley Cup final all 3 seasons with the Panthers, Rupper.
It's decent.
Think about this guy, yeah. Last year, number 9. This year, a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. He comes in at 20. I know you're high on this game.
Yeah, I am. He gets points, but there's so much more to it than that. I couldn't even tell you the last time I believe that he was completely 100% healthy. Right, like he just finds ways. I'd like for him actually to rest a little bit more.
Same here.
And he'll be missing the start of this upcoming season, a good portion, it looks like, this upcoming year. But he just gets it done. And we're going to jump into a clip here because he's so smart. And I think that's the big thing. He's got the attributes, but he's not the fastest skater, not the greatest shot. But he's a hockey player. I don't know what other way to kind of talk about that is he just sees plays happening. He understands. And this is one on the power play. I love where he's at on the power play. This one, he's in front of the net. You see him wheeling his stick in front. Like, he knows. He's like, no one's got me in front. I'm alone in here. Lob this one in here. I'm going to get this. And the reverse angle, you're going to show him. He does it. I believe it's Ekblad first who comes up. And you see him watch Tkachuk in front. Right here. Hey, hit me right here. Hit me right here. Doesn't happen right there. He moves it over to Seth Jones, and he's going to continue to do it. And the bigger things, too, Tone, he shows up in big games.
Oh, yes.
This is Game 5, the deciding game against Carolina Hurricanes, and he's just ready to go. All the time. These are just little subtle things. Here, a little bit on the run. Carolina's got you going. What's he do? Stretch the ice. He's a smart player. Let's get up ice. They got to come with me, and guess what? I'm going to take a hit to make a play. I'm going to spring an odd man rush. So maybe not the big sexy thing on the play, but that play does not happen without it. Here's his 5-on-3. Oh, what's that provide? 5-on-3, a lot of open ice here. He knows. Hold on to this thing. Step in, step in. Barkey, what a great screen. Brian, like his game, how smart he is. He chews on that mouth guard all the time, gets on everybody's nerves, but he is just a smart hockey player. You see him on these plays, too. That's that play that Sam Reinhart scores a million goals with. But look right here, same thing. Give it to Barkey on the half wall. Give it to Barkey on the half wall. He's going to rip it down to me. I'm going to bump it out to Reinhart. That's what he does. He's so good at it, sees the plays and the opportunities before they happen. But also on that play, you see him pointing there. How about the fact that just stay right here. I'm in a good spot. I'm just going to clean this up. He's so smart, and he always makes the right decision.
Yeah, if there's any sort of criticism, it might be foot speed. But again, you touched on his hockey IQ and how he can read the game. I'm going to take it a step further. Emotionally, his pulse, his fingers on the pulse of the game always, and to an elite level that it's impossible to really quantify or describe. But he's perfect with when he does the things that makes him Matthew Tkachuk. He can change the game with some physicality, or he'll say something to a player somewhere along the line. These things add to his bag. And did he have a down year? No, he was hurt for a lot of the year. He went from 9 to 20, but that's sort of what I was getting at in the beginning. It doesn't necessarily mean the body of work. He's in the top 20 now. Could he go up for next year? Yeah, I'm sure he could. He's healthier, or he will be healthier at some point. He just brings so much to the Florida Panthers.
He lays everything out there. He did for Team USA, and that's what put him on the shelf there. Then he gets into the playoffs, and what's he do? He's tied for the lead for the Florida Panthers in the playoffs with 23 points. Like he just finds ways to get it done. He's so impressive. On one leg, yeah.
The first year they went to the Cup final, he tried to play with a broken sternum. What a competitor. On to number 19 on our countdown, and it is a Toronto Maple Leaf. Willie Nylander. 3rd straight 40-plus goal season, leading the Leafs in goals for the 2nd time in his career. He was tied with Austin Matthews in 2022-23. And clutch as the day is long. Tied for the team lead in game-winning goals with John Tavares with 8. 2nd on the Leafs in goals scored since he came into the league. And yes, Sweden knows what they have in him. He was one of 6 players named to that initial Swedish Olympic roster. Last year, 29, this year, 19. Boiler, he belongs.
He does, and what I love about Willie Nylander, I think this is a guy that is so important for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They have a lot of similar players, or they did. They've made some changes going into this year. But Willie Nylander is a perfect player in that market because we know how heavily scrutinized they are. We know how much attention and oxygen that franchise takes in Toronto. And I think his body language, his approach to the game, he can't bother him. And I think that's an important thing for some of these Maple Leafs who might get overwhelmed at times to try to emulate a little bit, because it has been difficult for them to obviously break through or get to what everyone thinks is their potential in terms of what they have as talent. He just goes out and plays his game. He's Willie Styles. He's kind of can't be bothered. And I think that's an attitude you can take and maybe add in to that mix that they have this year. They're going to be a little bit more physical, but you add that in as well. It's us against everybody. Nobody's rooting for us. I don't really care. I'm going to go out and get 40 anyway.
It kind of feels like with the departure of Mitch Marner that he's going to have to probably pick up a lot of that slack. I think by committee they're going to as a team, or at least that's going to be the plan. But I feel like this is a guy that wants more. And to your point, the fact that, I mean, he probably is the perfect person as far as the way they carry themselves for Toronto. Because like you said, there's been a lot of great players that have donned that jersey. They can't handle the pressures of being a Toronto Maple Leaf. He can. I think there's going to be even more pressure on him, but I know that he had a career high in goals this year. He very well could pass that, I think, moving forward.
This isn't about numbers. And when we get to this stage of the countdown, you think about how people want to quantify things. And Boiler, I think about Tkachuk at 20 and Willie Nylander at 19. Rupper put it so well. Hockey players. When you're around hockey people like you guys, you want hockey players. These guys are the quintessential hockey players, and that's why they're here.
Well, he's a product of one with his dad, and Michael. Mm-hmm. He's been around the game even when he was a young player who's playing pro hockey in Sweden. He performs. He performs in the playoffs. He's not a guy you can point the finger at and say, this guy is what's holding us back. And people, maybe because he's Swedish, maybe because he plays a certain style, he's not running guys over. He's not scared of contact. He's not scared to get to the middle of the ice. He's a hockey player. He sees. He's very, very smart. Obviously, you can't produce at the rate that he produces at without evolving your game year over year. He's got elite talent. There's no question about that. Are there parts of his game he needs to keep getting better at? Of course there is, I think. But he has the talent level to keep going up on this list.
Yeah, I think there's an area. He's so good offensively that, there's areas of his game that I would like when you're trying to be like, oh, that's an area that could be better. And there's tape that we've done in the past that I've gotten into. I'm like, man, I want to see something different there from Willie. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is, he gets paid to get points, to lead offensively. He does it. He very rarely ever goes quiet for long stretches. I think that's a really good attribute that he brings.
And we know, having mentioned that he's already been named to the Swedish Olympic team, just how important best-on-best competition is when we evaluate the very best players. The top 50 players right now break down by country. There was a time when Canada was the standard setter. But one of the things you heard again and again during the Four Nations was that it seemed like it was the most even it had ever been in best-on-best competition. We see 5 Swedes among the group, Russia with 7, all the way down to Czechia with 1. You guys came up and played in this league when Americans were battling to get there, where in 2010 it was this near Rocky type story. Zach Parise scores, it goes to OT in the gold medal game, Canada wins on home soil. When the Four Nations rolled around, Rupper, it was a much different feel. It felt like 2 heavyweights trading bombs, that the U.S. won one of the games, and then for the title, it was Canada. Team USA, well represented among the top 50.
Yeah, no, and I love that stuff. I mean, that was one of the real big talking points of this past NHL season, is what that did for hockey, and how incredible it was. I mean, you had a lot of outlets stateside that never spoke about hockey, didn't know much about it, but were reacting all the same way, tuning in for these things. And I go back to when I was younger. It was the Bill Guerins, the Jeremy Roenick, Mike Modano, Brian Leetch, Keith Tkachuk.
Yep.
Now you talk about the bloodlines here. How big were Matthew and Brady and kind of being that next one for the next generation coming up? I love those moments. Can't wait for the Olympics this upcoming season, because that was some of the best hockey, some of the most proud moments, I think, that I've had in quite some time for USA Hockey.
It's incredible hockey to watch. And with Canada obviously being sort of the big brother to U.S. for a number of years, and I guess still now.
Still are.
They won.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how U.S. has evolved. Yes, we have a tremendous amount of skill in this country now with hockey players, but you just mentioned it. The Tkachuk brothers add that element that they know, that they've seen, that their dad used, in '96.
World Cup of hockey.
Beat a Canadian team that's loaded with talent. The Canadians did a great job in the Four Nations playing a North-South game. Even with all that talent, I think U.S. learned something. It's just constantly going to be a back and forth. But now they don't have to play a perfect game. It's not a Herb Brooks speech. It's not 1980 against the Soviets. It's just entertaining for all of us.
And we all appreciate what Al Michaels said. It was the perfect call at that moment. If the U.S. wins gold at the Winter Olympics in 2026, it will not be a miracle this time around. We're going to take our first break. When we come back on the Countdown Show from 20 to 11, Mitch Marner had an historic season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. His final as a Leaf. Where does he land on our list? You'll find out next.
Mitch Marner's a hell of a player.
Mitch does so many things so well, offensively, defensively, and killing penalties.
He's so skilled.
To the net, and scores! Some magic from Mitch Marner.
He's an electrifying player.
In the hockey sense, he's got it up there. It is a God gift.
He's as tenacious away from the puck as he is on the puck.
And a hat trick for Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner scores! Mitch Marner has hit the century mark.
What a year for Mitch Marner.
Century mark indeed, 102. He goes to the Vegas Golden Knights, but in his final year as a Toronto Maple Leaf, 102 points, putting him in the same breath as Doug Gilmour, Darryl Sittler, and Austin Matthews. And that's it. We know how much history there is for that franchise. Last year, he was number 32. This year, he jumps 14 spots to number 18, Boiler. Mitch Marner at this spot. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree. And I think that Mitch Marner is obviously a tremendous talent. 75 assists is crazy.
A lot.
It's crazy. And how, with his stature, now he's not a short guy, but he's not a very large human in terms of what he's able to do away from the puck without the puck and killing penalties and how good his stick is and how he defends. I don't think he gets quite enough credit for that. I think Mitch Marner was a product of a Toronto team that underachieved, and they wanted more at key times. So there was a lot of criticism for him in that moment and all those moments leading up to it. And I don't necessarily think all of it was fair. Now, he has moved on to greener or browner pastures in the desert out in Vegas.
Well
I think
played.
there's so much to think about and get excited about with him in Vegas, because Mitch Marner on a team that has enough physicality where he doesn't have to go too far out of his comfort zone to play a certain way because he thinks that's what's needed. I think he tried to do that this year in Toronto in the playoffs. I don't think he's going to have to even try to do that on a team like the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm so excited to see the possibilities with Mitch Marner in Vegas playing with a guy like perhaps Jack Eichel.
No, I can't wait for watch those
Seriously.
two get on the ice same time together. But this will be a team and an opportunity for Mitch Marner in Vegas that has more depth than he ever had in Toronto. And what I mean by that is Vegas is going to have 4 solid lines. That they're going to be able to contribute, and those other lines will be able to contribute on a nightly basis. Someone will be able to pick up slack, which would take quite a bit of pressure off Mitch Marner, because the whole story has always been core 4, core 4, core 4. We can only win when they're doing it. So I give him a ton of credit because he has produced with 102 points, just as well as those other guys in Toronto have. But now I wonder what it's going to be like without that pressure. But the one thing I want to talk about with Mitch Marner, too, I'm a big believer in guys who attack the hard areas of the ice, which would lead you to believe I'm not a big Mitch Marner guy. That's false. Mitch Marner may not physically jump in those areas of the ice, hang out in front of the net a ton. He's not unwilling to do it, but he's one of the best slot passers in the National Hockey League. So my point being is he might be on the perimeter dancing around, but he's making plays to those hard areas of the ice. He's going to just freelance on the outside and just pass the puck around the borders of the ice. He's going to get to those areas. I think it's really valuable. I think I think he's set up for another career year here in Vegas. I can't wait to watch him out here.
He was remarkable during the Four Nations, came up big in big spots. Speaking of that tournament, at number 17, Team USA's Zach Werenski. What a campaign he had. Led the whole National Hockey League in time on ice this past season. His 23 goals, the most by a U.S.-born D-man since Brian Leetch in 1994, 23. Remember how good Brian Leetch was? And there he was, leading the Four Nations in points. 6 in 4 games. Last year, 47. And the Norris conversation this year centered on him for obvious reasons. A spot leap of 30 places, Rupper. High riser. You like his game.
I love his game. What a season it was there. I mean, you talk about Columbus. They had that top line that was really, really good. But Zach Werenski, he had to connect the dots between forward and defense. I want to give a little shout out here to John Tortorella because Torts was tough on him for when he was in Columbus there. And Zach Werenski, I believe, from what I've heard, is he took to it. And he worked on his game. And it's not the only one, Torts. There's been other coaches there that have, and Zach's put in the work. But he pressures you defensively. I don't think he's a lockdown guy. He's not a Jacob Slavin. We'll get to the tape here. But he lets his legs do a lot. And he can think offensively by pressuring guys in the defensive zone, if that makes any sense. But you're going to watch him. I mean, he's just got this ability. He can get up ice, and on a line change, he can attack 1-on-4, 1-on-5, whatever the situation may be. And he'll get in there. And you know what the other thing, Brian, he'll hang in there. You watch him on this one, makes a play, and look at him. He just kind of cuts to the front of the net, hangs around here. He's just, they allow him to do it. And he's got those wheels. He's always thinking go, go, go. And I love that part of his game. He had a stretch there in Columbus this past season where he was just, seemed like he was scoring game winners or big goals.
Yep.
Nonstop. But, I mean, that's a lot of ice to make up right there. And he just jumps in, and he's just so confident. But there's the one I wanted to really look at, too. It's just, D-men usually aren't hanging out there at the blue line pressuring. He is, and just picks the pocket there, no case. Any kind of fumbling of the puck, he's gone. And he's got the ability to do that. But I just find that he's defending more now, which coaches always say, defend hard and you'll get some offense from it. I don't think players always believe that that's the case. I think we're seeing that with Zach Werenski.
I think if you do the right thing happens. The game opens up and you can make reads. With Zach Werenski, we talk a lot about these great offensive defensemen, and he certainly is one we talk about. But we talk about with Cale Makar is skating, Quinn Hughes is skating, right? Adam Fox is cerebral in certain ways. I don't think he gets enough credit for his skating. That one clip you showed, he blew by Braden Point, who's been in the fastest skater competition at the All-Star Game several times. A tremendous skater in Braden Point. His stride is effortless, it's efficient, he has a long stick, and his shot is the same as his skating. It's very deceptive, it's harder than it looks, and he scores goals because of it. His leadership and how he handled and took on this year with all the Columbus Blue Jackets had to go through, how they stuck with it together and how he rose to the occasion was tremendous. He was an easy guy to root for all year long. I'm happy to see that he jumped up 30 spots.
Finalist for the Norris Trophy, a huge statement about the way the league saw what Werenski did this year. We're going to take our next break. When we come back, Austin Matthews, he of the 3 Rocket Richards. Where does he land on the list this year? It's the top 50 players right now, players 20 through 11. Don't move. Braden Point, pound for pound, one of the most effective players in the ozone in the league.
He's an explosive first stride skater.
Point! Score! They score! Braden Point with a lightning strike in overtime. Scores! That one chipped in by Point. Point.
What a gorgeous move. Great finish for Braden Point.
42 goals, eclipsing the 40-goal mark for the 3rd straight season, 4th of his career. Only Steven Stamkos has more 40-goal seasons than Point in Tampa history. And on the power play, lethal. 16 power play goals, the most in the league except for Jake Gensel, his teammate. John Cooper must sleep like a baby. Last year he was number 16. This year, number 16 again. Rupper, this guy was picked 79 in the draft in 2014. With all due respect to the league, and the decision makers. We don't know what we're doing. This guy's so good, Rupper.
He is. He's so good. He's so consistent. I think one concern going into last season, I think on a lot of people's mind, was what does the departure of Steven Stamkos look like for that power play? Because I think having Point kind of being that middleman, the bumper guy, it always probably felt good, a little security blanket to know you got Stammer's 1T back there. So maybe that opens up some holes for, Kucherov to slide you that puck, Hedman to give you that puck. And you'd think it would be more difficult for him to find that offense on the power play, but he didn't. I just find, I'll kick it to you, Brian, because you played with him. You talk about smart players. He's got a motor that never stops. And I just find he just thinks the game and puts himself in great positions to score.
Yeah, his motor doesn't stop. His edge work is incredible. You look at him and he looks like a water bug, but he's a lot stronger and he's brave. He's a brave hockey player. He goes to dirty areas. He can handle pain and he's a competitor. You've seen what he's done in the playoffs, how he's been able to propel them in their 2 cup runs. He was tremendous for them. But, it's been so consistent the last few years with Brayden Point and scoring goals that this is just such a luxury for John Cooper to have. He's obviously a center iceman who can also distribute, but him in that bumper position, I think, makes that whole thing tick. Obviously, Kucherov is otherworldly, and that's probably where you want to start with your power play. Give him the puck first, but you take away a big booming one-timer on the other side. And Rupper, I'm alluding to what you were saying. How's that all going to work? And it's just a hockey IQ. These guys are such competitors. They get together. They're great teammates. They communicate a lot, and they figure out ways to do it. And they're so smart with it. Brayden Point's no different. You see the goals he scores around the net. He can also, if you want to Google Brayden Point, you're going to see about 15 highlight reel goals that if we attempted, Rupper, we'd be having adductor surgery.
You get him out in the open ice and he can cook, too.
Oh, absolutely.
He's
a phenomenal skater. He's so fast. He can stop on a dime. And, when he finally got a real NHL stick, he started filling the net with goals.
One last thing I want to add, too, going back to Four Nations, because we're going to do that a lot in this breakdown, because we're talking about the best of the best. Brayden Point, as that Four Nation tournament went on, I'm thinking, he's got to get more ice time. He has been a difference maker for Canada. He's got to get more ice time. I'm looking forward to the Olympics for Team Canada for Brayden Point. I'm interested to see how he's used, because I think that he was underused. They won. Doesn't matter that they're loaded. Who are you going to take ice time from? But I think he's one that you'll see more ice time come Olympics.
Bang on point from Rupper, because when it came time to name the first 6 for the 2026 Olympic team, he was on it. They knew what they had. And I think about what you said when he used the right side stick. There are all these things about Brayden Point that I think about. That could it be that he's underrated or underappreciated because, as you mentioned, Nikita Kucherov, Stammer was there. He's been so reliable, so dependable, and yes, highlight reel goals, but is it possible we're not appreciating him enough?
I think so. And I think because we'll go back to Four Nations, Rupper. I watched him, we watched him closely. I watched the guys I used to play with closely. Obviously, it was great hockey, but he had a 2-on-2, and the D had a bad gap, and he was so committed to the game plan, he dumps the puck in. He understands game management better than I think he gets credit for. His hockey IQ is higher than I think he gets credit for. He gets the puck in the slot all the time. People would probably think maybe someone should cover 21 in blue. There's a reason he's getting open. So he thinks the game, and not just game to game, but even in the game. How can I be effective? How can I make a play? He's one of the best in the world at that.
Amazing to watch him play. We're on to number 15 in the countdown. Speaking of Four Nations, he wore the C for Team USA, Auston Matthews. Since entering the NHL in 2016-17, when he had the Kit Kat on opening night, 30 or more goals in each of his first 9 seasons. 401 goals in that span, the most among any player in the league. Last year, he was number 3. This year, number 15. We tend to focus a lot on 34's offense. There's an O in his first name. It's not a coinky-dink. This guy, so good at that end of the rink. But, Boiler, you point out his ability on the other end of the rink, something not everybody appreciates.
Well, in his first season, too, I had a chance to play with him towards the end of the season. I was traded there, and I noticed him in puck battles and stick positioning and how he defended. And I was so impressed with just his approach to it. When his stick goes on a puck, or when my stick would go on a puck, as long as the puck left the opponent's stick, I thought I had done my job. He could close on guys in traffic, poke the puck away, and keep it with speed going the other way. He just has such a tremendous skill set with his hands and with his stick. in checking. He can read the play defensively. He doesn't get a ton of credit for it because he is so fun to watch offensively. And I think this year in particular, especially at the beginning of the season with the coaching change and the C put on his jersey, he really tried to go out of his way to be even more defensive-oriented. Now, I think the Toronto Maple Leafs next year are going to need him to score and fill the net. But I think what he's learned from the past season and how much he shows his teammates how important defense is and that side of the rink is, I think it's going to spread throughout that lineup. And again, you look at these players, you look at a Tkachuk, he goes down after winning another cup because of the injuries. I think that a lot of that has to do with Austin sliding a little bit in the rankings because of the injuries. You know, he's put up 69 goals in the NHL. It's incredible what he can do offensively. I'm saying it's incredible what he can also do defensively with his stick. It's fun for a guy like me to watch.
No, it's he can affect the game in many different ways. And I think that when you have superstars that can have the offense that he has in 69 goals or whatever he had a few years ago, he could put the puck in the net. He seems like he kind of has his big year, then maybe a little bit of a slip the next year. Big year, that would be due to a good year this year. And they're going to need it, like Brian said. I think here's the thing. Having Austin at 15 on a quote-unquote bad season for him, which was still pretty good in a lot of aspects. I think if he still needs his moment, and whether that's the Olympics, whether that's playoffs, something, he should be higher than 15. Like, right. I think we all can look at it here and say he should be higher. I don't know, maybe that's in some people's minds when we're voting on this is what's holding them back. When he has his moment, I think he will eventually have that moment sometime here soon. He's got to be top 10 every single season.
Let me ask you this. If that puck goes in overtime on Binnington, where is he on this list?
Yep.
Probably higher.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good point.
And what is it? And what does that do even spill over to the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs last season? 100%. You know what I'm saying? Like, you only have that narrative while it's there. And as soon as that falls off his back, look out, because this guy, being healthy is the biggest thing. When he's healthy, he's the best goal scorer in hockey. Probably should be higher here, but I can kind of understand why he's at 15.
Speaking of shedding narratives, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Jack Eichel. Remember, they used to say certain things about Jack, and then he won a cup. And no one says that stuff anymore. We're coming back. It's the top 50 players right now, counting down 20 to 11. At the 2015 draft, Jack Eichel was named one spot behind Connor McDavid. On this countdown, he comes in at number 14. Jack Eichel set the single-season assist and point marks in Vegas history. Since he's gotten to the desert, he's been great, and so have they. He comes in on our countdown at number 14 after being number 17 last year. Boiler, I mentioned the narrative and the difference that you sat down next to him after they won that cup on home ice, and you were the one who basically laid waste to that narrative. His play did it, and then you said the words, you were so right.
Yeah, well, he was vindicated with that because it showed when he didn't do it right away. It was the following season, but leadership's important, and being born into a good culture with the right people is important, especially for a young player. Now, it's only going to make him better in the long run. It has made him better in the long run. All that pressure of being the number 2 overall pick and going to a team, without the proper leadership, it's not the right direction. How he has been able to figure that out and become not only, obviously, a leader in Vegas on a wonderful team, but also a superstar player in terms of what he produces on the ice. It's incredible. Now, career year, obviously, the points are there. His skating stride is unique. It's unlike any other. How he defends, again, I know I'm harping on this, but what he did in the Four Nations and how he defended in the Four Nations was a thing of beauty against the best players in the entire world. I was so impressed by that. He's committed to that. You can't turn that switch on and off. So obviously he's committed to doing that. In the points in the 90s, I think he can get even more because I think next year, if he shoots the puck more, he could get near 40 goals without a question, especially playing with a guy like Mitch Marner. It's going to be an exciting year in the desert for the Vegas Golden Knights with Jack Eichel.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Four Nations because you and I, we were ranting and raving during that tournament and working here at the NHL Network where he was he was a shutdown guy.
Yes.
Like, he was shutting down the best players in the world. And I don't know how many people thought that Jack was going to be that when he got drafted. I just got a tape of some of the things he does really well. And it's his ability in his D zone and his willingness to do these types of things. First off, he gets a piece of everything with that reach. But here he's going in the corner with Luostarinen, who's got a pretty good frame on him right there. Just going to get in there, get involved, bang. Hey, let's just get this puck up to the winger. And I just found that he's always coming from beneath the puck. He isn't cheating for offense. He had 94 points. You'd think that maybe he did from time and time again. He doesn't, though. He comes in here and just look at it. The puck hits him. He's got that long reach. He's just in the right position. Get down there, but don't get out of position. Give a couple whacks. Puck's coming free. Move it up to the winger. Come from beneath. I just love what he does, and he's just cool, calm, and collected. Look up. All right, there's a little opening right there. It just takes one step, long reach, stick on puck. Puck's out of play. I just think that he's really evolved himself. And I love some physicality here. I didn't know Jack's strong. That's Mikko Rantanen back when he was in Colorado. So it's a big boy. Just puts him down, right? Like Jack Eichel is. He's a man out there on the ice. I think we're starting to learn that more and more defensively. He's strong. He's strong on his skates. He's got that skating stride that we've always maybe thought that he wasn't skating hard. He is. Maybe he doesn't look like he's engaged for physicality. He is. The offense, we knew that when he got drafted second overall behind Connor. This is impressive what he's doing right now. I cannot wait to see what he does again in both. Vegas Golden Knights, he might set career high again here this next year with Mitch Marner on that squad. But Four Nations, what he did in Four Nations, bleeding over to the Olympics. I mean, outside of the Tkachuk brothers, was there a bigger guy for Team USA than Jack Eichel? I mean, he was huge for them.
Spectacular.
Probably not.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible. Diving back into the countdown, there's nothing unlucky about number 13.
That's an enormous 2-0 lead for Colorado. Now you need even more of a push. The danger is you give up the third and you're finished.
Rantanen in all kinds of room. He scores! Mikko Rantanen, the former Colorado Avalanche star, has scored twice to tie it for Dallas.
Stunningly, Dallas is a couple of minutes away from a win.
I think belief was there with the group the whole time. I don't know revenge, I'm just happy to win.
A legendary performance by Rantanen against his former team.
There are stars, there are superstars, and then there's what Mikko Rantanen did in that round one series. A third period hat trick in game 7 to beat the Avalanche. And then to not talk about revenge. He scored an NHL playoff record by factoring in on 13 consecutive team goals. That's insane. League's been around well over 100 years. No one's ever done what the Moose did. Last year he was number 13. This year, number 13 again, but it feels like number 13 with a whole lot more attention on him, Rupper, and deservedly so.
Yeah, I mean, if you look up his playoff numbers since he's come into the league, outrageous. Outrageous, the numbers that he's putting up in the playoffs. Now, last year was a long season, well documented, getting traded twice. He had some moments where he went a little quiet, and we'll get to the tape here. He had some quiet moments. But the moment that we saw in the playoffs, this is just the rip of games 5, 6, and 7, minus an empty net goal in those games. He took over.
Yes,
I don't know any other way of explaining. Like, we knew he was elite. We knew he was a great player. That's why the market in one of the biggest trades we've seen in quite some time. But in the first round, what we saw, I don't know if outside of like Connor and Leon, not many players can do that. Like, this guy did. Not only was he providing offense, he was willing it too. You just think about the wraparound. This one, like, just how are these things going in? I mean, this was something special that I will always remember.
Yes.
That playoff run, what Mikko Rantanen did for the Dallas Stars.
It was incredible to see, just knowing or trying to get your head inside of his head with what he had to go through all year long. And yeah, Rupper, you said he went a little quiet. It's very difficult to get your bearings and understand and get your rhythm when you're getting moved all over the place, finding a new system, never mind having it happen twice. And then you got to settle in and play your former team that you've been with for your whole entire career. So the emotional, I guess, just how much was getting poured out of him in that series to perform that way was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. it's a tremendous amount of pressure to play in the playoffs, no matter what team you're on. If you're on a new team, it's a little bit heightened because now you have to perform. They just went out and got me. They signed me to this big ticket and extension. I better perform. Oh, and by the way, you're going to play the team you won a cup with, and perform like that. That's legendary status. That is cemented into, I mean, folklore forever in Dallas. And some Colorado fans are probably wondering what the heck happened.
I crack up when you hear some fans say, yeah, but he was then quiet in the playoffs after that. Or then he literally won them that series. And then you start round 2 against Winnipeg. Hat-trick game 1. I don't think he had any points game 2. He had 3 points again in game 3. Like, I don't know how much more you need from the guy, but I was so impressed. I think he's high on this list because he did something extraordinary. Like, we usually don't see teams getting lifted up like that by an individual player.
Extraordinary is right. As these guys made mention of his excellence in the playoffs. When they won the Cup in Colorado, he was their second best point producer behind only Cale Makar. And we remember how spectacular number 8 was. We're going to take a break. When we come back, where does Kirill the Thrill belong? On this list, to be sure. And he missed half the games of the regular season. Wow, that's valuable.
Here it is.
Beautiful play.
NHL Network's definitive list of the best players in the league now.
That was magic.
Stars are aplenty.
Top 50 players right now, 10-1. Next Sunday, 7 Eastern on NHL Network.
Call him the Thrill for the reason.
Yeah, he's incredible to watch.
Kirill Kaprizov.
Because if you can stop him, you're going to have a good chance to beat Minnesota.
Right.
But you can't stop him.
Kaprizov scores! It's a win for the Wild in overtime. He scores! Second of the night for Kaprizov. Comes up with a puck. Kaprizov, they score! Kaprizov over the shoulder of Ersan.
All this guy did was set the pace in scoring for the league with 38 points the first 23 games he played. We know he missed 41 games because of injury, yet he had his best point per game average of his career, 1.37. But it's not just about the numbers. As you see him leap from 25 to 12, it's about a player who is so impactful on the offensive end of the rink, perhaps as much or more impactful as anyone else in the league. Rupper, he's special.
He is. The way he protects pucks and he plays in those areas of the ice, I don't want to compare him. I'm very touchy with comparing people to Sidney Crosby, but the way he puck possession and protects that puck down low below the hashes, it's impressive. I mean, you see guys going in there and you're thinking that he's going to get stripped from pucks. He doesn't. He hangs on to it. He holds on. It's like he attracts all the attention, and then he's so smart and he'll distribute it to the right guy in the right scoring chance. I love his game. I just our voting system we're doing the wingers on this similar show. I had Kucherov first. I think he's slam dunk best winger in hockey. It was tough, number 2. And David Pastrnak, who I picked. But it was I was racking my brain thinking, like, Kirill's in that conversation with Pastrnak. So it tells you what I think about him. But, I mean, you watch this guy play on a night-to-night basis. He is incredible. The only thing holding him back, sometimes he gets banged up because he plays a hard game.
He does. He plays a hard game. I know he's a left shot, but you see sort of some Nathan MacKinnon in sort of his violence and how he skates and his abrasiveness when he has the puck. He's not shying away. It's so entertaining to watch him create offensively. And, you know, wingers typically are not thought of as always driving the line and driving the offense of a team. So the importance of a centerman is always heightened. But this, you know, Kirill Kaprizov, and I think the guys you just mentioned, David Pastrnak and Nikita Kucherov, are 3 wingers, because it is more rare, that are so important and critical in their team's offense, and they can create so much and control a game from the wing. It's such an impressive thing to see, just because we don't see as much of that as you do with, you know, a number 1 center iceman. Again, if he can stay healthy, it's a benefit to hockey fans all over the world, because like, we were talking about potential Hart Trophy for this guy before he went down with injury. So, yeah, he's a treat to watch. He's entertaining on a team like the Minnesota Wild without all the depth that some of these other teams has, he's their most important player, bar none, offensively.
I will say this, and I don't know if I have the numbers completely right, but after like 56 games in the National Hockey League, he got that extension for $9 million. He's been underpaid.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
He's been underpaid. He's been worth every penny and more for the Minnesota Wild.
Smart deal by the Minnesota decision makers. We're up next to number 11.
Pastrnak looks like himself again.
Wow, he's been fun to watch over the last several weeks. He's always fun to watch.
Did someone ask for some pasta?
You see the amount of points he had in the month?
28 points.
That's hard to get in the season.
It's almost 31. It's only 31 days.
He's got goals in 4 straight. David Pastrnak stepped the rocket.
Even from the dot or further out, he can still beat you.
Started off February with a hat trick.
18th career hat trick for David Pastrnak.
Thank you.
His third consecutive 100-plus point season. The Bees have a lot of history. What did 88 do? He joined Bobby Orr and Phil Esposito. And that's it. First Bruin with 3 straight 100-plus point seasons since 1973 to 1975. What a campaign. And, oh, by the way, the Bees didn't have the best season this year. This guy did that on a team that missed the playoffs, and they weren't exactly knocking on the door. So David Pastrnak comes in at 11. He was number 14 last year. Before the show, we had a really good conversation. Boiler pointed out that this guy's got flair. He was right.
Good news is that he doesn't hog these interviews. It's not just him chirping Biz. You get to be on with us, which is that's a positive, right?
Yeah, it's been tough to be always option number 2. You know, whenever Marshy didn't want to do it, I kind of had to jump in. So. Yeah, not surprised you guys picked me now, and let's do it.
Well, we were listening Barbie Girl before you guys asked me to the media, so I was kind of dancing with his glasses out in the locker room, and then you guys ruined it, and I had to go answer the question, so I missed the Barbie Girl song, and, you know, who knows what's going to be on when I come back.
These guys are experts. They know what they're talking about. Boiler, this guy is a beauty.
Oh, he's just entertainment television, whether he's on the ice or he's got the mic in front of him, and he's coming for our jobs, Rupper, when we're all done, because this guy's getting eyeballs on him. As a player, though, I don't know really how you quantify what he was able to do in the second half or post-January 1 last year. With the state of the Bruins and what their franchise was doing, trades happen. Things like that happen. You need to reset. When you're on an island and you're playing against NHL teams and you're the most effective player and you don't necessarily have the support around you that you once did, people would think it would be natural for you to take a dip or a step back in your production. And he had 69 points after January 1, which was, I think, the best in the NHL.
In the league.
So you think of the weapons around him, his creative hockey sense, he can shoot the puck. And the way he competes and how he still motivates himself, it's just different. He's a unique guy. There was an exchange I had with him his first year in the league where he turned it over to me. They were on the power play. I was on the penalty kill and went down. And I had a nice shorthanded goal. It was nice. I felt great about myself. In the third period, he slashed me in the foot, but very gently, and said, "You got me benched." Why did you do that? And I said, "I think you're going to have a long career, and you're going to make a lot of money, and I have to."
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. This season was one of the best non-spoken about seasons for an individual that we've seen in that run. What was it, 69 points from then on was incredible. But this was impressive to me. With 106 points and being on a team that was pretty far away from making the playoffs, I'd be like, oh, it's a power play merchant. Not led the NHL on 5-on-5 points with 66. He's special. It's really nothing else to say. He is very, very special. And with that personality, I think he should push him out there. He should be one of the biggest faces of the National Hockey League.
Yes, absolutely. He comes in at number 11, the last of our picks on this show. The top 10 awaits. But first, let's take a look back at who we saw in this grouping of players. We started with Matthew Tkachuk. We ended with David Pastrnak. If you look at that screen and you're trying to think of a guy that's top 10 this time next year, Boiler, which guy comes to mind first?
Probably going to steal Ruppers, but Jack Eichel, I think. I think Jack Eichel has a monster year ahead of him. You could pick anyone on that bottom row for sure. That wouldn't be super surprising.
No. I think Jack. Yeah, Jack for me. I think he's going to be our trophy guy this upcoming season. So yeah, I'll go with him.
We are so high up when we get to this grouping of players. There's 32 teams. We think about all the players in the league. For a guy, and I've been around hockey players, these are the most competitive humans on earth. When a guy makes this list, it's a big deal. And if you think the players don't talk about this, you're kidding yourself. What does it mean for a player to be recognized not only by his peers, but by those around the game, the way that we're recognizing these guys?
I'm sure it's humbling. I'm sure the guys that are very high on the list will say it doesn't really mean anything and they don't watch. And the guys who might have fallen, they'll probably say the same thing. If you're a young player, though, in the league, it's probably a great feeling to be recognized by, I guess, former players and the network that covers all these games. At the end of the day, the guys that are high up on this list, anyone that's on this list, there's one thing that motivates them. It's being the best player they can be to win hockey games.
I mean, David Pasternak's interview was a perfect example of that. Obviously, he's joking. He's having some fun with the TNT crew, but he's like, you guys always pick Marshy, and like now I'm the guy? You know what I mean? Like, so the guy, you don't get to be this good without wanting and striving to be the best. And even if you're joking about it, there's something in you that thought that you needed to point that out. And I love that, the competitiveness.
What a beauty. There was a time in Pasta's career where he was sent to the World Juniors to build his confidence. His confidence is fine now. When we get to the top 10, all those guys are confident, and deservedly so. Thanks for watching the top 50 right now, 20 through 11.
Here's the shot score! Ka-chunk, ka-ching!
He's the heartbeat of this team and leads the charge.
William Nylander, he just has a swagger about him that's kind of obvious.
Overtime winner! The beat goes on for Willie. Mitch Marner, his 200th NHL goal.
Mitch Marner. Vegas goes big again, landing him.
Zach Werenski, he's so talented, and it looks easy for him.
Score! It's Zach Werenski! Fire the cannon again!
Great points. Like, the bigger the game, the bigger he plays, and he always seems to show up.
Brandon Point, career goal, number 300. Austin Matthews, right down Broadway. That's hockey, baby.
Because he's taking it upon himself to just carry this team.
Jack Eichel, to me, he's one of the very best players in the league.
Eichel with a drive, and he scores. Jack Eichel rumps it home.
Mikko Rantanen, that big moose gets going. He is going to put up some numbers.
Shot score! Rantanen back on the board.
Kaprizov carries this franchise on his back.
Back to Kaprizov. He scores!
When I watch David Pastrnak, he jumps off the screen.
What a spectacular goal that was!